Call of the Void contains strong language and possible trigger warnings and is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, I'm Deacon.
Hi, I'm Jack.
And welcome to Call of the Void, a podcast about all things weird and macabre.
How was your New Year's, Deacon?
It is going alright. But, I mean, it's been... I'm gonna date this episode, I guess.
It's fine. But... This is going, I'm gonna be talking about a thing that happened at the New Year's party I went to, and, this is probably going up at the end of January, but...
Yeah, it's been 4 days into the new year. But it's been alright, I guess. I mean, I don't really see too much of a change from 2018, so... We're just trying to figure it out as we go along, I guess.
I mean, Kingdom Hearts is almost out, so yes. There's a change.
Yes, that is 24 more days away, and I'm really excited. And
I wasn't joking when I said I'm gonna wait until you play it to tell me if certain characters die before I spend time getting invested in it. I can't. It's too much, man. I can't do it.
You know, I'm just gonna have to, tell you, oh, no, it's fine. Nothing happens.
For the love of God. Alright. The worst part is, I know you totally will do that, too. And me, the idiot I am that always trusts you.
I'm the Aaron to your Dan. Anyway.
Oh my God, you are the Aaron to my Dan in so many ways.
But that said, I've not had much creepy stuff. I mean, well, there's been some cool things that have happened since New Year's and the holidays and everything. It's been a few weeks since we've recorded, so
yeah.
We had Bird Box and Bandersnatch, two things of which I need to actually watch. Well, I've watched part of the whole Bandersnatch thing, but it's another thing that I'm gonna have to watch, and then we're probably gonna have to talk about at some point.
Well, yeah, I didn't know. I'd seen advertisements for it, and I didn't know what it was. And anybody that knows me knows that I am a huge fan of choose your own adventure stuff. My favorite author is this guy, James Shannon, and seriously check out his work. He's great. But he writes choose your own adventure books. My favorite of which, if you're looking for one to get started with, is Infected. You play through the zombie apocalypse. But, so I didn't know what this thing was, and I never paid attention to it because I didn't see, the first season. It's Black Mirror, right? It's Black Mirror. Yeah. I didn't see the first season. It wasn't something on my radar, so I wasn't paying attention, and then it was actually Sandwich who was like, hey, did you do the thing? Because I know you really like this stuff. And I'm like, what thing? So now I have to go do it, even though I have no idea what's going on. So, yay.
Yeah, so a cool thing about the whole, about Black Mirror in and of itself is it's almost like Twilight Zone-y. Each episode is its own self-contained story. For the most part. So you can jump in at literally any point and be fine.
Oh, again, I didn't even know that. That makes me feel a little bit better about the whole situation. Cool.
Each episode is its own little story. I would very much recommend going with Bandersnatch first and then watching Like if you want to watch Black Mirror, because I don't know. I've seen Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Bandersnatch is good, don't get me wrong. I like Bandersnatch a lot. But it's not as good as, like, the other Black Mirror stuff.
Okay.
So I would say watch Bandersnatch first, and then if you enjoy it, try Black Mirror, because it's better.
Okay, yeah. Definitely. And, yeah, Bird Box, I don't know what's going on with that. So, I don't know. If you watch it, I'll probably wind up watching it.
Well, so I've not watched it, but I have watched a full spoiler review where they've basically told the entire story. Like, here's the story explains for people who don't understand the story or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I watched one of those, so I know what happens. I've not watched it myself, and it's mostly just because I'm too lazy to access Netflix. I have access to one. I just don't. But yeah, eventually we're gonna have to talk about Bandersnatch and
so like
Bird Box.
So sometime this week or something, I'll add it to my to-do list to do the Bandersnatch thing, and we could talk about it. But yeah, so before I go into, because something happened at the New Year's party I went to that kind of freaked me out a little bit. But before I go into that, there was a current event story. It happened in December. The article is from December 18th that I wanted to talk to you about then, but because the holidays and everything, we haven't gotten a chance to record until now. So yeah. I want to know if you heard about this. In Montana, there was this guy, he filed a police report saying that he was setting up targets in this open field, and then all of a sudden, like, out of nowhere, bullets started, like, flying at him. And this guy, it turns out, in a black F-150, if I recall, was just shooting at him randomly. And he finally, like, he was able to go confront the guy, and the guy was, like, straight up like, "Oh, sorry, thought you were Bigfoot."
What?
Yeah. And part of the reason why I wanted to tell you this story is because it reminded me a little of the guy that shot his wall and was like, "Oh, I was shooting at a ghost."
But, yeah, like the paranormal investigator fires gun at ghost.
Which will forever be one of my most favorite things.
That's still one of my favorite headlines that I've ever read and ever talked about on this show.
Yeah. Like, I mean, episode 1, like, will always be something I cherish for a lot of reasons, that being one of them. But yeah, so this guy was straight up like, "Oh, thought you were Sasquatch." And like, and then according to the guy's police report, because apparently, like, and I'll get into it, but like, there's the police initially had some doubts as to the veracity of this guy's claims, but yeah, according to this guy who filed this police report, this dude was just shooting at him, and then he was like, "Yeah, like, here's the thing. When I see something I think is Bigfoot, I don't take a chance. I just start shooting." And he tells the guy, "Maybe next time you should wear one of those orange vests so you don't get mistaken for Bigfoot."
But is this dude like I don't know, like fucking covered in hair and like 8 feet tall?
I don't know, unless Bigfoot is wearing like clothes now, if that's part of the thing. But,
yeah, right? Like, Jesus God.
Because if I was... Oh, and that's the other thing. He said to him, allegedly, if this all happened for real, he said to the guy, he doesn't take target practice. He just shoots at things he thinks are Bigfoot.
don't understand.
But yeah, so now this guy makes this police report and is like, yeah, so this happened to me. But like, he didn't really give a description of the guy, just like the car he was driving, and explain the encounter and everything. So the police were like, yeah, I don't know about this, but it wound up getting in the papers, and a woman came forward and told a very similar story, that she was shot at by a guy in like the same kind of car. And the only difference between their stories was that he made no mention of Bigfoot in that one. But can you believe the balls on somebody to shoot at you, then be like, oh, sorry, but really, you should have been wearing a vest if you didn't want to be mistaken for Bigfoot.
What the fuck, dude? Like that honestly, it makes me think of that stupid show. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a show called Mountain Monsters.
No, I've never seen it.
Okay, so on this show, it's a bunch of like, it's a bunch of like hillbilly dudes.
Okay.
Who like apparently are like up in the Appalachian Mountains and shit.
Yeah.
And they're like hunting Bigfoot, and like they're always like they're shooting like out into the night at what they presume is Bigfoot, and like the camera cuts to it and they're always like, oh, he got away. Like,
oh my god,
it's like it's one of those shows.
Yeah.
Like they once had a theory that what was it, that Bigfoots were, or big feet, I guess that would be the plural, I don't know, that they were teaming up with chupacabras and using them like bloodhounds to hunt people.
I mean, that's fucking terrifying.
And I was like, well, from what I understand, oh, and there's like bunches of different Bigfoot. Like it's not just one. It's not just like the Bigfoot. Like it's bunches. There's tribes of them, and they're using multiple chupacabras, as though the name isn't like El Chupacabra. It's,
oh my god.
Yeah, like they imported some chupacabra up from Mexico to hunt, to use like bloodhounds.
Okay, so legit. The thing that I just thought in my head is like, so some delivery men who are like super terrified because they don't know what to expect, and their cargo has been snarling the entire time, and they just go into the middle of the woods and see a bunch of big feet just standing around, and it's like, we'll take the merchandise now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the craziest shit in the universe, and it's, I don't know, like a friend of mine told me about this show, and then I was like, this can't be real, and like I watched it, and it's definitely real.
I need,
like
yeah.
there's times where like, oh, there's some like blood on the ground, it's gotta be Bigfoot blood, or look at this, there's some excrement on the ground, it's gotta be Bigfoot poop. Like,
oh my god,
it's the craziest shit, and like the camera can just never. Bigfoot are too fast. They were being hunted through the woods, and the Bigfoot was using chupacabra to hunt them the whole time because they were the prey and not the hunters. And like the camera can't turn fast enough to like catch the Bigfoot on camera, but they definitely saw it and shot at him. Like it's.
This is perfect for. Because I have a question to ask you after I tell you the New Year's story, but like, and this perfectly goes into that, but yeah, like there's a comedy bit about Bigfoot that I need to find and show you after we're done recording this episode, because damn, dude. But wow. Yeah, so if you don't want to be mistaken for Bigfoot, just,
make sure you wear an orange vest.
Yeah.
So that people don't shoot at you randomly.
Yeah. And the cops, the best part were like, the cops were like, at first they didn't believe this guy, except like, you know, but now that the woman came forward and basically told the same story, it lends some credence to what he was saying. But they were like, yeah, we're concerned that there might be an individual out there that thinks it's a-okay to shoot at shit so long as he thinks it's Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem.
Oh god. Like, I'm somebody who, you know, I enjoy being by myself, and I'm a reclusive person, but damn, sometimes I'm so happy I live in a city. Oh god. Speaking of which, sort of, so this kind of it's a very, very loose tie-in, but so I went and spent New Year's with Luke and Jen at their place, and like,
they're mutual friends of the show, for those who don't
yes,
know who we're talking about.
Yeah, check out Fierce Ferrets on Twitch. But anyway, so I went up to their place for New Year's, and like I said, I'm not really like I don't really like to be around a lot of people, but I went to their New Year's party and it was good, you know, like I met some cool new people and whatever. I had a good time. But at one point during the night, I was a bit overwhelmed, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta go outside for a little bit and just like get some fresh air and be by myself. And while I'm out there, like, I was out there for a while. I would say like a good 20 minutes. Just like staring off into nothing, just breathing in the rainy air, you know, having myself a little bit of a powwow. And all of a sudden I hear a woman yelling. And then like a couple minutes later, I heard her yell again. And this time it was clearer that she was saying, "Help me." And then like moments after she yelled, I heard a guy yell, clear as day, saying, "Help me." So I was like, well, shit. Because, you know, my first instinct is to call 911. But like, I don't know the area. Like, whenever I go to visit, I stay at their house. I don't like, it's not like I'm very well acquainted with, you know, the area around their place. So I went back inside and I'm like, yeah, like, and a couple of people saw me and they saw that I had a weird look on my face, and they were like, "What, Jack, like, what's going on?" And I told them, and I went and got Luke. And a group of, like, a mini search party went out, which I wasn't very comfortable with. Like, I was more comfortable the more people decided to go on this little scavenger hunt thing, because they wanted to just make sure that if somebody needed immediate attention, that somebody was there, and that they could call the cops, like, you know, like right away if they found somebody. So, and what I didn't know also was one of our friends, his girlfriend brought her sister along, and I didn't know that her sister, I don't know if she's an EMT, or like, I was very I didn't get those details, but like, she had some medical training. So I found that out after, and I was like, oh, okay, so that makes even more sense that like you would want to go, like, you know. So they went off, and when they came back, and now keep in mind, it's raining, it's disgusting out and everything, and I'm kind of freaking out because I'm worried about them now, because I don't know what they're going to find if they find anything. I'm worried about the people that were yelling for help. So they come back and they're like, yeah, you know, like, we didn't find anybody. We called 911 anyway. Like, Luke pulled me aside and was like, I know you're really worried, so I just want to let you know, like, this is what we did. Everything's going to be fine. And we didn't hear anything for the rest of the night. But, like, yeah, that was really fucking scary because, like,
Yeah.
I live in the city, and like I hate to say that I'm used to shit like that, but I kind of am. And you always want to take that shit seriously because you never know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I just really hope that it wasn't an emergency and there were just some people being silly and just yelling, but yeah. What was actually kind of funny about it though, like when Luke first came out of the house, like he yelled, "I am a very loud person." I just want to know, do you need help? And he got no response, and that's when everybody like went out to look. But yeah, so that was fucking scary as shit.
Yeah, I can only imagine that would be terrifying.
Oh my god, yeah. And imagine like you go stand outside like to calm your nerves, and then that shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my New Year's.
I mean, mine was mostly boring.
Yeah.
I mean, I slept a lot, so
I mean,
that
that's
was
what
my New Year's.
Yeah, that's what I would have done had I not gone to the party. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least I didn't start mine with someone screaming for help.
Yeah.
That's legitimately terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and one of the things that really, like, one of the reasons why it freaked me out so bad is because when I was in high school, and now, like, I live in a much quieter, like, I've since moved from the house I was in when I was in high school, but when I was in high school, I was trying to go to bed one night, and I'm tossing and turning, and all of a sudden I hear this loud bang, and like something was like, oh, like that was definitely a gunshot. But then I was like, I don't know, it could have been a car backfiring. I think I'm just reading too much into this. But I couldn't fall asleep, and then the next thing I know, there's cops in front of my house. Some kid straight up got shot right outside. And thankfully I didn't hear this part because it would have probably scarred me, but he passed out momentarily when it happened because he got shot in the back. But my older brother, like, we would have a joke that he was like the neighborhood like watch guy, because like a couple of times some bullshit would happen and he was always like able to observe and call for help. But yeah, so my brother is like, luckily like he was already home, but one of the scary things about that was he had just gotten home like maybe a half hour before, so you know, so but he was like doing schoolwork, and he heard the bang, but then he heard, and like me, he was like, it was probably a car or something. But then when the guy came to, he started frantically screaming for help. And that's when my brother, you know, like realized, oh shit, something just happened. But yeah, like that's what I thought of when I heard that. 'Cause like, you know, because you don't know what happened if anything happens.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but
that
also,
was terrifying.
I mean, also Jin and Luke's like home is incredibly haunted, so.
Which so like if you do get the opportunity to come visit, and I really seriously hope you do, like I said to you the other day, I really hope you have an experience, because like, excuse me, like I won't speak to Jen and Luke's experiences in the house because those are their stories, but one of the funny things that happened was I was over their house, like this was like a couple months back, and it was super early in the morning, and we were recording an episode of Drunk Fandom, and I was falling asleep because it was like 7 a.m. and none of us had gone to bed yet. And I was like, man, like I left my energy drink in the mini fridge in the basement. I gotta go get it. So I went to go get it, and I'm halfway down the stairs, and clear as day, as though it's somebody right next to my face, like right next to my head, I hear a guy's voice that I have never heard before go, like, really nicely, too. Like, hello, how are you? Just like that. And, like, I know for a fact it wasn't coming from outside, because there were noises coming from outside, and they were all muffled, as they tend to be when they're outdoors and you're inside. And I literally just, like, paused dead in my tracks, and I was like, hi? And I just looked around, and nobody was there with me. And the thing that made me say, fuck this shit, I'm out, was not that. It was the fact that, like, because it's a basement and it had rained the night before, there were a ton of crickets. Which, as I have said on this show before, I am not about that life. So I went upstairs, and I was like, I was about to be like, no, like, I'll whatever, I'll just power through it and not deal with the energy drink, because I'm not going to go do that. But the funny thing was, like, as I was on my way back to the room, and I don't know what made Luke say this, but Luke was talking to Jen, and I heard him say, just before I went back in the room, like, yeah, like, no, this house is definitely haunted.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and I was like, so, about that.
Like,
yeah.
Hopefully everything works out, and I'm able to come visit for my birthday. And if I can,
yes,
then we will see if I have weird experiences in their incredibly haunted house.
Yeah, I hope so.
I do too, honestly. I live for that kind of thing, so I super enjoy, like, having weird experiences, because it's a story that's kind of unique to me. That
I'm trying to figure out a way that is feasible for the four of us to hang out in person, where I'm not imposing on anybody, because I don't want to invite myself over, and also, like, I'm not sure where I would be staying if that's the case, so I'm not even gonna, like, I'm not gonna be rude and be like, oh, I'm coming up too. So, but I would love to just, like, hang out with, like, all four of us, and, like, watch horror movies and shit. That would be nice. But
yeah, that'd be great. Or I have Betrayal Legacy.
Ooh.
Which, okay, so some people may not know this about me. I am a super huge, like, board game aficionado. I used to do, like, board game reviews and that sort of thing, and I collect them.
I really super enjoyed your top 10 list for the holidays.
Betrayal, A House on the Hill, is one of my favorite games, probably of all time, and they released a legacy format of the game very recently. So basically, what a legacy game is you start playing through the game. Betrayal, A House on the Hill is basically, and I really wouldn't talk about this if it didn't pertain to the show in some way, shape, or form. But it's it's like a B horror movie. It has a lot of those, like, horror movie tropes and shit. Where, like, you're going through a haunted house or whatever, and stuff happens, and as you're going through, you're building the house, and somebody ends up being a traitor and trying to kill everybody else, or some mess. And legacy formats of games are basically like, the game will eventually, like, it has a bunch of cards that say, like, once you do the effect on the card, put a check mark on the card or whatever. And if there's 3 check marks on the card, rip this card up. So as you play the game is literally unique to the people playing it. no other game on Earth will probably will end up being the same in like every exact way. People might heirloom different items, which means that they get to put their family crest on it. People who win the game or lose the game get the deed to the house, which means that like there'll be different stickers in different places on the board and that kind of thing. So the game dynamically changes as you play it, and you make permanent changes to the game that will be unique to your group forever.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be a really cool thing to get like all of us together and do like the legacy campaign for Betrayal.
Yeah, I've only ever played the game once on Tabletop Sim with you guys on stream, and it was really funny that Luke was super enjoying being the betrayer and
cheating.
Yeah, cheating. But like the best part about the cheating was that he didn't realize he was cheating until like the game was over, basically, and I was like, wait a minute, hold up, that doesn't make any sense. And then he reread it and he goes, oh yeah, that's not what we were supposed to be doing.
But I mean, the cool thing about the legacy format of the game is that like, you know, things change, things are unique to everybody, and like every single round, like they'll like it has the opportunity for at least one of like each of us to be the traitor, like multiple times. So but it would be really cool to get like the four of us together and do the legacy campaign of Betrayal. I feel like that'd be great.
One thing I would love to do, and again, like I don't want to like impose a lot of stuff and like put an itinerary on you, so you know, I'm just like saying like, oh, it would be cool if, but like one thing I would love to do, because I mentioned watching horror movies while you're here, I think it would be cool to watch my favorite horror movie, which is Grave Encounters, because we wanted to, I don't know if we mentioned it on the show, but one thing that I would love to do is like, because Daekon hasn't seen that movie, and like I just said, it's my favorite horror movie, so I would love to watch that movie with him and then talk about it on the show, and then he pick a horror movie that he really loves that I've never seen, and we sit down and watch it, and we do an episode about his favorite and stuff like that. I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. It's totally cool if we don't get around to that, but you know, that's a thing I would like to do if we can.
We will see what happens, but
exactly.
But yeah, so hopefully it's a thing that works out, and it would be great. And maybe if we end up doing the like Grave Encounters thing, like if we actually do, we can like record an episode in the same room together, which would be interesting.
So I was going to say something about that, but at the same time, I was like, I don't want to make him work while he's here.
Yeah, well, I'm also bringing my computer because I know that that's a possibility. So, not like my whole like PC, but like I'm bringing my laptop, and my mic. So, because I figured that we would probably like record stuff while I was up there. Mm-hmm. So it'd be chill. It'd be fine. It'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so getting to the thing that I wanted to ask you, and it's something that I've been thinking about a lot over the past couple days, and I figured it'd be a good thing to bring up here. So, like, okay, case in point, like we were talking about, like, oh, Jen and Luke's house is super haunted, and like we talked about Bigfoot and everything. So, it was actually Jen who got me into this, and I've been watching a lot of it the past couple of days. BuzzFeed Unsolved has a bunch of, like, they have true crime and they have supernatural. I've been watching mostly the supernatural stuff. And one of the things that I kind of love about it is the fact that now, like, obviously both of us believe in ghosts and the paranormal and things like that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love about it is, you know, like, I love both Ryan and Shane. I love them both a lot. But the thing that I love about Shane is that he super does not believe in any of this stuff, and, like, not even a little bit. And he, like, questions everything. And I feel like they provide a really good balance with each other, because I think Ryan believes too much sometimes and Shane doesn't believe at all. So it's like, but one of the things that I've always loved about, like, certain ghost hunting shows, or certain, like, you know, people I've known that have been into that stuff, is, like, as somebody who does believe in this stuff, I like when investigators go in to disprove rather than prove. And I think that a healthy dose of skepticism is a good thing. So that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, like, because we both obviously believe in this stuff, but, like, what makes you skeptical? Like, what things do you not believe in, or that you have doubts about?
Well, I don't know if you could tell earlier, but Bigfoot is one of them.
Yeah, like,
the only reason for me on that one is there are so many. There's like a bunch of reports of Bigfoot, like, all over the place, but no one seems to be able to, like, corroborate a story, and he keeps popping up, like, all over the country, and sometimes it's, like, within a couple days of each other. Yeah. Like, it'll be like, oh, there was a sighting in Oregon, and, like, the next day there's a sighting in Michigan, and I'm like, how the fuck did he walk all the way from Oregon to Michigan in, like, a night? Like,
well, because there's
those
multiple,
kind of things.
There are big feet.
No, they're not. That's not how this works.
That's not how any of this works.
If there were, so I've had this argument, okay? If there were multiple big feet,
yeah,
we would have definitely seen them and recognized them as a species that's not like any other, like, you know, like, oh, there's like a bunch of different, like, dog species or birds or whatever. Like, if there were multiple big feet, I feel uncomfortable saying that. Like,
I know. I was gonna say, like, how many times can we say this ridiculous word in one episode?
if there were multiple, then we would have already, like, recognized them and been able to find them and find conclusive proof that they exist.
Yeah.
So from, like,
well, I mean, Deacon, the Patterson footage.
Oh my god. You mean the one of a guy walking through the forest in a Bigfoot costume? Is that the one you're talking about?
that wasn't it, like, his kids or some shit? Like, we're like, nah, this is totally fake.
Yeah, like, legitimately.
Or the partner. Yeah, it was either, like, the guy's kids or, like, the guy who was in the Bigfoot costume or something.
Like, there's legitimately, like, there's a lot of, like, there's a lot of cryptids and things like that I'm like, yeah. Like, and so it bounces back and forth because, like, okay, I really, really super enjoy the Jersey Devil. I think that's a really cool story, and I part of me really wants to believe in the Jersey Devil, and
I would love to, if we ever get to, for those of you playing at home, there's a thing that Deacon and I talk about a lot, about how at some point, if we can, because, like, we want to set up a Patreon and everything, and, you know, hopefully that is a thing that happens soon and everything, but, like, we would love to get to a point where we can just go on trips to places and do podcasts, like, from those places and investigate ourselves and everything. And yeah,
That'd be
that's
great.
definitely a thing that I would look into.
There is a place here in North Carolina called the Devil's Tramping Grounds.
Yes, I was thinking about that the other day, and I'm so iffy on whether or not I do that.
I have friends who have done it.
Yeah.
And legitimately they were like, yeah, we camped in the area and all of our shit was moved the next morning, like while we were sleeping, and we don't know how it happened. But like legitimately, like the whole, I mean, it's super private property and you have to break in to see it, so won't disclose any information on that. But the Devil's Tramping Grounds is a really it's a really cool thing. Like I believe in those kind of things, but I like Bigfoot is like a thing that's a little bit too ridiculous for me to believe in.
Well, to be fair about the Devil's Grounds or whatever, you've said it a bunch of times, and of course my brain forgot the word. But like the thing about that is, if we actually did it for a podcast, like we would get necessary permissions before we recorded anything or whatever.
Well, yeah,
So...
I was mentioning that for the people at home.
No, I know, and so was I. So this way, like, we don't condone breaking and entering. So
yeah, don't actually do that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's a thing that like there's. I don't like I said, I don't believe in Bigfoot. I believe in Nessie, which is crazy to me. I don't know why I believe in the Loch Ness Monster, but I believe in the Loch Ness Monster and I don't believe in Bigfoot.
I was slightly obsessed with Nessie when I was a kid. I don't know, like I had a Loch Ness Monster shaped eraser that I really loved. And I used to get like animal shaped erasers and just like play with them and never use them as erasers. And and my older brother first told me about it. Like, I was like, oh, that's cool. And I had a minor obsession with Nessie when I was a kid.
I really want to believe that there's like a fucking Leopleurodon just living in Loch Ness. I feel like that'd be great. Just randomly in the middle of Scotland, there's a
there's a dinosaur.
It would be great. I really want that to be real.
Yeah.
But and I don't know. So I'm on two sides of the fence when it comes to like cryptids. So like I believe in some, I don't believe in others.
Well, yeah, like we had the conversation that other episode about like paranormal experiences that we've had where you may or may not have encountered a hellhound. So
yeah. And I mean, there's also some of those like urban legend shits that like basically everyone has, like everyone in the entire country, like every single state in the entire country, and I could put money on it, has one of these stories that spreads around, that there is a hill somewhere on like in that state, probably pretty local to you, that you can go to and park at the bottom and your car will go up the hill. There's always one of those stories. There's always a story of some woman who like, or some woman or some guy who has gone off a bridge and died. And if you like park your car on the bridge and say some weird incantation, then they'll show up.
Again, I'm a city slicker, so I have neither of those.
Or you have a story about going to some kind of like overpass and seeing some woman on the side of the road or some guy on the side of the road, and they ask for help, and you try and take them home and they disappear in your backseat. Those three stories pretty much exist in every state across this country.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like it probably elsewhere in New York State that's a thing. It's just not like the funny thing is that, and I say funny, but it's like, it's sad. I don't mean like haha funny. I mean weird funny. So like in the city, one of our, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but we had an urban legend. It was on Staten Island. This guy Cropsey. There was a documentary made about it, and that one kind of turned out to maybe actually be true. So, you know, like, yeah, like there's a guy in jail right now. And yeah, like I highly recommend checking out the documentary. Like it's fascinating, but it's also like kind of hard to get through at certain points. But yeah. So that's also kind of weird, is that like the local urban legend around me isn't actually technically a legend. Like it happens.
Or some shit like, I don't know, like man door, hand hook, car door, like those kind of.
Oh my god, I love it. I don't know.
Like
I don't know
those
how
kinds
I
of
got
urban
through.
legends exist.
I don't know how I got through the Bigfoot story without telling the parable. Like, where were you, Sasquatch, when I needed you?
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, like I feel like pretty much everyone, like every state across the country, like has some kind of weird, like, oh, there's some ghost shit that happened, and like it's definitely real, and then people go there and then nothing happens, and then they're like disappointed. Like I don't believe in those kind of ghost stories.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff is like, yeah. But I mean,
yeah. Like for me, like how you were saying, like it's funny to you how like some cryptids you're like, yeah, I believe in that, or I want to believe in that, and other cryptids you're like, there's no fucking way. Like for me, like one of the weird like I believe in, like, you know, obviously like spirits and magic to a degree and stuff like that, but like I think crystals are total bullshit. Like,
I mean, yeah, like, okay.
Like, I have, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I have several styrofoam cups on my windowsill that are filled to the brim with salt and dice I use in D&D. That is the person I am, and I'm like, nah, crystals, that's bullshit.
I'm a person that used to read tarot and now reads runes because tarot cards no longer speak to me. Like,
yeah.
I'm like,
I haven't.
Like,
yeah.
There's certain bits of like occult stuff that I'm just like I don't buy into. I feel like the whole crystals thing was like,
yeah,
hey, how can we like market rocks?
Yeah. Like,
but
I would, like, if somebody gave me a bunch of crystals or whatever, like, I mean, I wouldn't, like, throw them out or anything. I'd keep them, you know, like...
Yeah, they're pretty, but, like, I don't feel like they have any kind of weird properties or anything. They're semi-precious for a reason.
There's a company that is selling, like, reusable, like, water bottle thermos things that have like a giant ass crystal in it, and like to infuse the water, and every time I see it, like, it makes me so mad. that and the fucking, like, those obsidian rock necklaces that are supposed to help calm anxiety. It's like, number one, as somebody who deals with anxiety, I'm pissed off.
Have you heard about the jade egg?
I feel like I vaguely know what you're talking about. What is that?
So you know about the GUI website, right?
No.
It's like Gwyneth Paltrow's website or whatever, where she sells like...
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so...
I don't believe in Gwyneth Paltrow. That's another thing.
The jade egg was like a thing. It's egg-shaped.
Yeah.
And... it's a thing for women that you're supposed to put inside of your
cooter.
Yeah. We'll go with that. And it's supposed to like revitalize you and shit. And I'm like, why? But there were like all these women being like, oh, I bought it and it totally works and whatever. And I'm like, please, why? Like, why would you waste money on this? And then like she got in super trouble for doing it. Like she got in trouble.
Yeah,
like
I think I did hear about this now that because I didn't remember like what exactly it was, but I definitely remember reading a thing about it that like that she got in trouble for endorsing this weird thing.
Yeah, because it doesn't work and it was false advertising and she was trying to sell this thing that was probably super unsafe to be sticking inside of your genitals.
Okay.
But yeah, like it's one of those things where like it's completely and totally ridiculous and like I'm in literally the same boat. Like I don't believe in the whole I don't believe in that kind of like crystals, or I don't believe in things like Reiki either. Like that's another thing that I'm like that's
that one I'm not gonna lie, I'm on the fence about that one, and I'll tell you why. Because like everything in me is screaming like this is not a thing, but I also like I know people who have practiced it, and I have had like certain experiences, like not like huge ones, but like enough that I'm like, that's really weird.
Well, you know, see, so here's the thing for me. I live in a state that is encompassed by the Bible Belt. Yeah. And there's not a whole lot of like people who are like, yeah, I practice Reiki like around here. Like, so I've never had any kind of real experience with it, but there's a part of my brain that says there's no way that could work.
Oh yeah. But like, that's the thing. It's like, cause I'm
just that like I am more than happy to be proven wrong in anything that I'm talking about here that I'm like skeptical of. I am more than happy to be proven wrong, and I will fully admit that I was absolutely wrong to say that it wasn't real or that it was bullshit. And if somebody can prove to me that there is some sort of something, like I'm willing to accept defeat. But there's just a part of me that is like, do I really believe in things like, you know, Reiki and that kind of thing?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think that, you know, with anything, even shit that you do believe in, like I said earlier, it's healthy to approach it with some skepticism. Like, and I know I said this like in the episode where we were talking about paranormal experiences we've had. Like, I do this thing every time I have. And I did it in this episode when I was telling you about, you know, what I experienced at Jen and Luke's house. Like, whenever I have an experience like that, the first thing I do is always, like, I will sit there and I'll be like, okay, how else could this be explained? You know, like, because I've had shit happen where, like, I know for a fact that, you know, like, there was a period of my life where I mean, I'm always super stressed, but like, my mom was very sick at the time. Like, she wound up passing away, unfortunately, from her illness. But like, I was super stressed around that time. You know, like some other stuff was happening in regards to that, and, you know, and I was legit seeing things that weren't there. And I knew that, like, I was like, okay, like, and when I say seeing things, I mean full-bodied things. Like, I used to work at at the time I was working a retail job, and I turned around to, like, put something in the bin to go back out onto the floor. And when I did that, a black cat just jumped out at me. It wasn't real. Like like shit like that. Like I can say, no, I was super stressed and my brain was playing tricks on me. There was this other time, like one of the other really freaky ones was, the house I was living in at the time, next door to us, there was there were two houses that were kind of separated from each other so you could see through like the alleyway.
Yeah.
And I kept seeing this guy just standing there staring at me every time I went outside this one night. And I knew it wasn't real. And it would disappear like once I kind of acknowledged that it was there. I knew it wasn't real, but I also knew that like, okay, well, no, I am under an insane amount of stress lately. It's just my brain.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are people who, like I brought up Ryan and Shane earlier from BuzzFeed Unsolved. Like, and I don't mean this as like a negative thing toward Ryan Bergara, but like I feel like one of his biggest downfalls, like with himself, because he spends almost every single episode terrified out of his mind. And and I understand where he's coming from in a lot of these cases, because you hear, oh yeah, there's a fucking demon in this house. Like, it's kind of a scary thing to know that you're going to be in this house for the next couple hours and everything at night. But like every tiny noise, every gust of wind, he's like, was that a whisper? Like, was something knocking? And I feel like, that's why I say it's very good to approach things, even things that you believe in wholeheartedly, with some skepticism. Can this be recreated? And I've done that before. I have tried to recreate scenarios to make sure that, like, okay, there's a logical explanation to this.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I also believe in the Mothman because he's super real.
I have a weird relationship with the Mothman.
I really want the Mothman to be real.
For Jen, I want the Mothman to be real because she loves the Mothman so much.
I really love the Mothman.
Yeah, like she was wearing a Mothman shirt at the New Year's party.
I really love Mothman. I don't know why. I think he's neat, and I think he's misunderstood, and he needs love. And
yeah.
I want to give him a big hug and be his best friend.
Like, like I said, I have a weird kind of relationship with Mothman. Like, I've only just recently learned to appreciate him and not be scared of that whole thing anymore. I never actually saw the movie, but I saw clips from the movie when I was younger.
The Mothman prophecies or whatever?
Yeah, that creeped me the fuck out, and that's why, like, I stayed away from anything Mothman related. But, yeah, like, in recent years, I'm like, actually, it seems pretty cool. Like, this is an experience I wouldn't mind having, like, meeting the Mothman.
Yeah, and to be fair, the movie's kind of camp. Like, it didn't hold up well.
It didn't age well.
No, it's pretty campy. I still like the movie, but
I will check it out. I will see if it's on any streaming services I have.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it doesn't feel like it held up well.
Okay.
But yeah, like I still really like the movie, and I mean, that might also be because like when I had well, holy shit.
What?
I just had a realization.
Oh no, what happened?
When I had my car accident, when I had the flu really bad that I almost died of pneumonia, and there was another like really big accident that I got in. Oh, when my dad like when we were leaving my grandma's house, and my dad, me, my sister, and my dad were all in his truck, and we got hit by a transfer truck.
Ooh, dude.
In all of those cases, I almost died. Mm-hmm. I remember going to the hospital, mm-hmm. and the Mothman prophecies being on TV.
That's really fucking creepy.
In all three of those instances, that's why I was like, "Huh, wait a minute."
What's, yeah, I have a thing sort of like that, but it's a lot nicer, and doesn't involve like imminent death. There's a thing, and it's happened a few times that like it hasn't happened every single time, but it's happened enough times for it to be noticeable. I really love the song Breakfast at Tiffany's by Deep Blue Something. I've loved it since I was a kid, and it first started getting played on the radio. And there have been a whole bunch of times where like I'll be having like a miserable day, and I'll just be out in the wild, and I'll be in a store, and it'll just start playing on the radio, and it just feels like, yeah, and like, and the reason why that's kind of notable is just because it's, you know, that song has not really been played very much since the 90s, so, you know, like that's just an odd song to randomly play. You know, and it's,
yeah, and it's a song that's literally about like, hey, we're having a bit of a fallout, and the only thing that we have in common is that we both really like Breakfast at Tiffany's, so we should watch that movie and become friends again. which
is really funny because I fucking hate that movie. Like, for so many reasons I hate it. Damn. But I love the book. I read the book because I loved the song so much, and I was like, oh, maybe I should actually read the book. And I love the song, I love the book. That movie I wish never existed. So yeah.
But yeah, like I like I said, I didn't realize that like in multiple occasions where I've almost died. I mean that's why I remember it with the flu thing, because I thought whenever I watched it in the hospital when I had my last car accident, mm-hmm. and part of my brain exploded while I was watching it because I thought that I had just dreamed that movie in a fever dream when I had the flu. So I was like, oh, it's not a real movie. Like, that's just something that my brain came up with.
Like Shazam?
I guess. But I was like, no, that's just a thing that, like, you know, my brain created, and it's not actually real. And then come to find out, whenever I got in my car accident and we were in the hospital, I turned on the TV and flipped it to the Sci-Fi channel, mm-hmm. and was like, holy shit, this movie actually exists.
Maybe there's just a big old mothy boy that is looking out for you.
Yeah, and it was the part, like, whenever I got to the hospital and I turned on the TV, it was the part where, like, the bridge is collapsing, and, like, all the cars are falling into the water, and I was like, huh. Well,
would you look at that? Do you believe in aliens?
Magic in a young girl's heart? I do. Okay, so that's another thing that I'm on two sides of the fence of, because logically speaking, we can't be like the only thing that exists.
Yeah.
In this entire universe.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, we have like no idea or evidence.
Yeah.
That they could be real.
I've always believed that they existed for those same reasons, but I was always like, I could talk about like ghosts and demons and shit forever. But there was a long period of time where I was so terrified by the notion of aliens that I couldn't even entertain the thought of them. And when I started watching X-Files of all things, because we have that in joke, for those of you that don't know, and I'm not going to get into the whole story of how this came to be, but like, Deacon and I have this joke that, he's Scully and I'm Mulder, and we have like friendship rings that I got that night because I thought it was so funny that say the appropriate name. But
I'm just saying it's weird that your state doesn't put mustard on burgers. That's all.
No. So why would you
done.
do this?
No. We're not going into this conversation.
Oh man, I fucking hate you right now. But yeah, it's actually kind of weird because like the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, actually no, I am a lot like Mulder in a lot of ways. But anywho, watching X-Files made me not scared of it anymore. So like,
yeah, I mean, like I said, for me it was like we don't really have any evidence, and that could be because, you know, all the conspiracy theorists who are like, the government's hiding it and covering it up. And realistically speaking, from like a realist standpoint, like look at how long that we as humans have been on Earth, and we're nowhere near the kind of technology that would be needed for like intergalactic travel. Like, we can go to the edge of our universe with, like, a satellite, but that's, like, the most extreme that we can go. We haven't gotten to, like, hyper, like, jump kind of shit or faster than light travel or anything else like that. Like,
yeah, we can't go plaid quite yet.
Yeah, so... there's like 4 people who got that reference.
And those 4 people are my new friends, so
but no, like we can't do those kinds of things yet. So realistically speaking, any other life form that's out there is probably locked to their own planet in their own galaxy, if there is. Like in the infinite spectrum that is space, there has to be other places. We cannot be the only thing that has like randomly had the things like combined together that produce life.
So
there have to be others out there. I really think that, like, realistically speaking, it's just they haven't evolved to a point to be able, or have their technology evolve to a point that they can do travel, and like we're kind of in the same boat. Like we're sitting in the same universe but have no way of visiting each other.
So what if I told you that I have seen a UFO?
I don't know. I
On 2 separate occasions, I have seen a thing that, in the strictest definition, can be defined as an unidentified flying object, and both of them were terrifying. So there's a lot of things that could be classified as an unidentified flying object. Like before drones were like super hugely popular, they were unidentified flying objects. Like, yeah.
So I don't know if I can actually legitimately and logically say that yes, that is definitively a like alien thing.
So yeah, like, well, they were also both like so vastly different from each other. Like the first one, I was taking out the trash one night and I just saw this like pink orb just like very slowly like and very gracefully floating like in the sky, and it wasn't a balloon or anything. Like, it was just this orb that, you know, was just kind of there, and that was freaky. And then the second one, I was driving around one night with a friend of mine, and I saw like this thing up in the sky that had a whole bunch of lights in a circular fashion, the way that, you know, we are told they are in pop culture, and that was kind of scary. But yeah, so
yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know if I personally buy into the whole like that kind of thing. Like I said, there's definitely got to be other life out there, like, but I don't know if like we have no proof that they've like visited us already, or
so do me a favor and hit me with a Mulder. There's got to be a logical explanation.
Look,
Scully, you're never gonna believe this.
Every time I hear that, like, I think of that map where it's like places where Bigfoot has been spotted, places where IHOPs are frequent, and they like line up really well, and I'm like, Bigfoot is IHOP.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Or Bigfoot's drawn to IHOP. It's their pancakes.
I'm not a fan.
But yeah, like I said, it's one of those things that, like, I don't know. I'm unsure if I'm unsure if I like believe that they've been here. Like, I know that, like, from a realistic standpoint, like, we can't be the only things.
I mean, what about, like, you know what? No, like, I feel like we should have an episode where we talk more about aliens in depth, because we're rapidly getting to the point where we need to wrap this up. So because we're probably there already. But yeah, like,
yeah,
that is a discussion I would like to have, but I'm not going to bring up any more shit about that.
Okay, yeah, that'll definitely be a thing that, like, we talk about sometime in the year of our Lord 2019. So I think that's all the time that we've got for this one. Before we head out, though, we wanted to give a big thank you to our friends Batclam and Gideon, or Luke and Jen, who are very kindly letting us host our podcast on their website.
Yes.
You should definitely go check out all the things. They have cool comics on Webtoons. They have awesome other podcasts that you might be able to find us in, like Drunk Fandom or The Last Light. And you can find all of that at fierceferrets.com, or you can go to their Twitch, which is twitch.tv/fierceferrets.
Yes. I would also, real quick, like to say that because as of the posting of, or rather the recording of this episode last night, on our Twitter page, we posted the thing about, you know, episode 10 interface going up, and we also posed a question about, you know, like, if there's anything you guys would like us to do, or if you have any suggestions or whatever. So yeah, follow us on our Twitter page. It's at the COTV podcast. Yeah, and just tweet at us and, you know, tell us if there's anything that you particularly want us to talk about and research.
Yeah, if there's anything, any topics that, you know, that you want to hear discussed and covered, let us know. And if it's something that we don't know about, we'll do our best to do as much research and stuff as possible so we can talk about it. We did give our opinions. We did get a suggestion, and I am all about that suggestion. So it sounds really cool. Yeah, I would love to do like a whole
episode just on stuff of that vein. So yeah, and we'll give you a little bit of a shout out. How's that? If you give us an idea.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, we'll definitely credit you for the idea. Like, yeah. But yeah, so I think with that, I'm Deacon.
And I'm Jack.
And until we see you next time, sweet dreams.
Bye.